Hi everybody, welcome
Oops.
to the Stress
Hate it when I do
Lounge. I'm
that.
your host Bill Whittle. Let's go grab our friends over on YouTube real quick.
Hi there, YouTube. Welcome to the Stress Free Lounge. It's Bill Whittle. It is it's raining outside for one thing. It is the 3rd of April, and hope everybody's doing well. I have some good news, a bunch of good news. We got 18 minutes of story mechanics for the first segment with Mike Rowe is pretty much done. So we'll get a chance to take a look at that in a little bit. Let me just send a very quick text to my beautiful wife here because she wanted to see it. I forgot I was going to do it just before we ran the show. Sorry. She might be watching right now, but I just wanted her to see the story mechanics thing. So that's good news. And then I have like crazy good news. We did the show on Monday night, and I thought Tuesday was going to be basically it for Bean. I woke up Tuesday morning, and he was not where he was. He was where he usually was. He'd come all the way to the bedroom. He was right beside our bed. He's had this incredible rally. Let me just see. He seems to be doing really well. Oh, she's watching. Great, fantastic. Yeah, it's a freaking Christmas miracle, and it actually got me on my knees in the kitchen when I saw him walking around, and he was much better. Tuesday was the day I thought I'd have to call the vet. He was good Tuesday. He was great yesterday. He's even better today. So who knows? Yes, he's a tough little bean. I told you I regretted not being able to bring him in and have him go to the studio. We got him cleaned up. He needed a little bit of maintenance, but I didn't want to stress him because I really thought he was on his final hours. But Natasha and I got him in the sink and cleaned him up a little bit, and he fought like a demon. He fought like a 2-year-old cat. He was just crazy, having a great time. So rather than being able to bring him in, I thought I'd bring him in on remote control. So I have 40 seconds here of Bean from this morning. So kind of a proof of life thing, but it's great news, and I take every minute I get. It's just like every minute is precious. So I'm real grateful. Here's Bean. I'll flip him over onto Twitch, then YouTube, and then we'll come back and we'll chat a little bit about story mechanics, and I'll show you the first segment. Here's now be kind to him because he's an older cat. He was a little more perky than this when he was a little kitty. But here you go. He's still a brave little bean. What a brave bean he is. What a brave little bean. It's a tough little boy. You're a tough little guy, bean. Tough little bean. Say hi. Say hi, little bean. He's still a brave little bean. What a brave bean he is. What a brave little bean. He's just a good bean. Tough little bean. And he's just getting up and eating. This morning he was eating like a vacuum cleaner. He was just sucking it up. So yes, so it's a wonderful reprieve. Like I said, he's 22 years old. He's a good cat. He's an old boy. He's slow on the walking around, but it's possible he was just sick. His litter box is a little better than it used to be. It's still kind of a mess, but he was basically, I mean, he was almost, almost like clear fluids coming out of the boy, and I thought that was for sure it. But no, he's I don't know. I don't know if it's going to last another day. I don't know. But like I said, I've always been told and believed that they tell you when they're ready, and he's not ready. So it's good for him. It's good for me. It's yeah, he's just a good little cat, tough little cat too. He's a fighter. So very happy, very happy about this. And I don't see Mama in the YouTube stream, but she was I hadn't seen her before at all, but she was just so wonderful on Monday night and said, he may rally, and I thought, well, seems unlikely, but no, she called it. So it's just great. I believe so too. Single cell organism says a beautiful cat, I believe, will be reunited with our animal friends one day. I believe it too. I do. Anyway, that's that. So I have to my delight, have cut when we recorded the Story Mechanics show. We did basically three segments. We did a long segment, over an hour, on storytelling. Then we did another segment on the archetype of the common man and the value of hard work. And then we did like about a 15-minute talking politics session. So we had about 2.5 hour taping. And just on the storytelling thing, just the first of those three segments, I can't remember if it was 7 or 8 segments out of it. One of them, like for example, one of them is very short. It's only about 2-3 minutes. But some of them are, 15, 7, 8, 9. So that's, 7 segments out of one bit. We'll probably get another 4 out of the common man thing. I would say at least 4. And then the political thing. So I think what a reasonable schedule would be, keeping up with the editing, is to shoot a Story Mechanics a month. That still means we'd be releasing a new segment pretty much every other day. We're probably going to get 8, 12 segments out of these things, somewhere in that neighborhood. So the plan is to release each segment kind of sequentially. Then we'll release the edited version of that beat, either the storytelling beat or the common man beat. And then we will have the entire thing start to finish, split screen, no editing, for our members at BillWhittle.com. You busted half nickel swamp pig. Hey, Bill, what's the topic for this evening? We don't have a topic. We never have a topic. We just kind of a stream of consciousness, or a trickle of consciousness, probably a little more accurate. So generally I do an opening for an hour or so and just kind of talk about what might be on my mind in that particular day, and then we go to the comment section for the story. Kirk's Bamboo Bazooka says he missed the kickoff. Well, you missed Bean, who had a tremendous rally. He's doing fine, Kirk. He's we just showed him on camera, and he's I'll run him again at the end of the night before we go. Yeah, it's a rill of consciousness, a drip. It's an arroyo, a dry arroyo of consciousness kind of thing. But we go to the comment section in the forums at BillWhittle.com, and that's where we get our questions from. So I guess with that said, our views are a little low tonight, strangely enough. We usually see at least 100 in YouTube, but I'm not going to worry about that too much. I feel really good. Natasha's channel is growing like crazy. Thank you to all of you who went over and subscribed, and we'll post a link in that a little later too. But that's going well, and a channel she started quite a while ago about her art and her painting has just suddenly been seeing like activity, and one of her shorts got 500-600 views in a day, so those are decent numbers. And so that makes her happy and me happy. And all of the comments that you find people have left over at the Natasha's music site have meant so much to her and to me, and we just get a huge kick out of it. So there we go. It's got him, Coach. You changed his YouTube handle. Okay, good to know. So I guess with that, I'm just going to run the show. It probably needs another tweak pass, and it got output at 720p instead of 1080, which means I'm probably going to have to go back and reformat like every single shot, but it'll be worth it because we've got the resolution. But in any event, it doesn't need any apologies and doesn't really need any setups. This is the first segment of story mechanics, and it's pretty much done. So once I start rolling it, I'm going to turn up the volume here, and I'm going to watch it with you. And if you want to make comments while the show is going on, I'll be watching those very carefully as well. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, by the way, I've tried my best to get it mixed. I think the mix is pretty good. I haven't had a chance to test the overall levels against a standard, but I think they're pretty good. So if it comes in a little bit hot, all you have to do is just adjust it once, and it should be good. Okay, so here we go. Let's go, and we'll start. I'll start on YouTube because I want to listen to it on Twitch. So yes, the Story Mechanics World Premiere. Here we go. My mama's there. Hey, congratulations. Glad to see you, Mama, and you called it, and had the big rally, and he's doing just fine. Okay, on we go to Story Mechanics, everybody. So it's about 18 minutes, I think, and I'll check in as soon as we're done. So we'll kick it off on YouTube, and then we'll start it on Twitch, and here we go. Well, hi, everybody. Welcome to the very first episode of Story Mechanics. It's a new show we've got here going at BillWhittle.com. We're going to be taking a look at all different aspects of movie making and storytelling and all the rest of it. And needless to say, we've been holding off on this show for a while and waiting to get our hands on a genuine celebrity, to really kick the show off right. Somebody, well known and well beloved by the public, and somebody who could make a, big splash. We weren't able to pull that off, obviously, but we do have Mike Rowe with us today. And Mike, good to see you. Thanks for stepping in on 6-minute notice. We really appreciate it.
I was hoping you were going to say well-liked instead of well-beloved, because then I could have made a very clever Willy Loman reference and got us right out of the gate.
The well-liked Mike Rowe.
Liked, but not well-liked. That was the curse of Willy Loman, and it's certainly a consummation to aspire above.
The thing that's actually great about starting with you is this. Over the course of this series, I want to talk about all different aspects of, filmmaking and just plays, everything. But the great thing about starting with you is we get to start with the absolute bare bones essence, which is the story. I mean, the story is everything. And love to kid you about it, but you are absolutely the master storyteller. There's very, very few people who can sit down at a microphone and hold people's interests with just the words of the story. So what I wanted to start this entire series about was this idea that when you really get down to it, everything is a story. All the learning we do is a story. Everything in the Bible is a story. Aesop's tales are a story. All the morality plays that we get are stories. Whether we should do right or wrong is based on stories. And what seems to be, even if you take a look, for example, like a history teacher, a good history teacher, a teacher who can make you remember history, is a teacher who will tell you a story about history that you remember, as opposed to somebody who's just going to come in with, 1846, this is what happened and that's what happened. What do you think the essence of the story is? I think the one thing that the only thing that a story can't be is boring, right? I mean, anything else is pretty much on the table.
Well, unfortunately, it can be boring. We're surrounded by boring stories, stories that come in hot and don't really ever land, stories that are maybe 2, 3, or 10 times longer than they need to be. There are just so many things that I think are worth pivoting on, and I'm struggling to come up with something new, and that's the hell of it. I don't think there is anything new. I would wager that by the end of this series, certainly by the end of this conversation, we we won't have stumbled across a new thing, but I bet we will stumble across some things whose time has reemerged. It's a wheel, right? And like the old
Yes.
song says, everything old is new again. And when you talk about history teachers, you're talking about my dad. He taught 8th, ninth, and 10th grade history for 35 years.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, and when you talk about the word history, I mean, what is it? Two simple syllables.
Yeah, his story.
Yeah.
You
So,
know,
a lot to unpack.
going. So let's. You were talking about going full circle. When you see these blockbuster movies, and you've got all of these special effects, and people go to the movie and they come out and they just sense, yeah, okay, I don't remember any of it. I remember when I did one of your shows, I was talking about my acting professor, David Shelton, and he basically said that there's not a movie that should ever be made that should not first be performed at a black box theater with the actors sitting on stools, wearing black turtlenecks, just reading the script. Because if that story doesn't grab you in terms of what the characters are saying and what the screen direction is telling you, then you're probably wasting your $450 million. Probably should have hired a writer.
Think about the
It
fantastic.
costs less than that.
Think about the Fantastics, right? I mean, that was a big play in the 60s and 70s. The writer of that play basically did exactly what you just presupposed should happen. They just stripped everything away. Our Town, Thornton Wilder, did the same thing. Just what happens if you get rid of all of the pretense? What happens if you get rid of all of the tropes and the platitudes and all of the intentionality that somehow became valued and then overvalued with blockbusters and cartoons brought to life and all that stuff? I was thinking during my ruck this morning, which is why I'm late. Thanks for your patience. I'm still sitting here flop sweating like a whore in church.
I've never denied a friend his rucking time.
But when I think about stripping out all of the artifice from a movie to basically distill it to its guts, I also think about everything wrong with reality TV today is the proximate cause of some scripted producer or some scripted editor or some scripted actors, for that matter, dragging all of that into this new space and infecting it with the
Yeah.
intentionality
Yeah.
that can bitch up.
And the artificiality, yeah.
Yeah.
So just as a quick aside, though, you've done dramatic work as well as the realistic reality TV stuff. There's nothing more fun than the table read, though, is there? I mean, that to me was always my favorite part of any production was the table read. The first time that everybody got together and everybody's reading the script aloud. You've read your script. You've read maybe you just get the sides, but everybody's got their own take on it. But the first time the entire cast comes together and just sits around a table with coffee, and donuts, and they're reading the stuff aloud, and the first time the laughs start to click, and the first time some of the reversals start to click, that table read for me was always the highlight of the experience, I thought. I guess it's because it's the first time you ever hear the story for the first time.
Well, it's the first 15 minutes of a really good crossword puzzle where you start, right? I mean, like those things start sometimes, especially you got the Sunday edition or whatever the hard one is, Saturday or Sunday, and you just look at it like a cow looking at a new gate, and you're like, God, I don't even understand what half the clues mean.
I got the word "the."
But then you get a toehold and you test it, and then you find you've got a link, and then you have
exactly
another
what
link.
it's like.
Right, and so that's how evolution works. It builds on the last discovery. You don't go back to the beginning every single time, and so whether it's a table read or this might be a bit grand, but what do you think went through Michelangelo's mind when he stood there looking at the rectangle of marble before it became David? right? His whole job, as he later said, was to just chip away at the crap that didn't belong there.
Yeah. Take away everything that wasn't David inside the marble.
That's right. That's
Yeah.
right. So again, not a new concept, but one that's worth reminding yourself of because some ventures truly start with a slab of marble and others start with an open quarry. You have to go in and get the marble, right? And others start with a flat earth. You have to dig the quarry. So where does your story start? What are the raw materials you're relying upon? And to what degree are you going to shape them into something funny or empathetic or recognizable or worth the time of civilization? You know, that's the hell of it. You know, we all get to figure it out.
The fun thing about that is you're picking the idea that David, this individual lives inside the marble. One of the things I've found about storytelling is that it is almost always about individuals. We often live in a world where collectivism is worshipped, but nobody ever tells a story about a collective. No one ever has a story about the committee to, stop worldwide international crime. James Bond doesn't approach the supervillain with a harshly worded letter from the United Nations and then drive off in a Prius at a reasonable speed. It's about a guy with a gun and a hot girl and a fast car. And even when you tell a story about a group, like a football story, like We Are Marshall, for example, you still have to pick. You have 40 people on the team. You got to take, the quarterback who had his big opportunity and maybe has a final shot. There's the poor kid from the projects. This is his one chance to break out. You're going to take 3 or 4 individual stories and make something out of it, because you cannot tell a story about a group of people. I don't even really know why that is so much as it's just, maybe it's just too many intersecting pathways.
It's too much. Look, I think there's a micro macro component to most good stories. The macro, of course, is the ability to dance with some large universal themes, and the micro, all punning aside, is your ability to distill it to the individual. And so, my favorite stories always sort of blend those two in some way, to a degree that satisfies me. Sometimes I want more macro. I'm because I'm a fan of history. I watched the Titanic with a keen eye toward the days and the dates and a bunch of things that probably don't really matter too much. But I was fascinated by the architecture of the boat and the conditions on the day and all of the circumstantial stuff, all the macro stuff that lives on in the details. But, that movie made more than any other movie because you just broke it all the way down to Jack Dawson. He was just a kid trying to get across the pond. We start with a gambling scene. We start with risk. And then we get to love. And then we get to, look, say what you want about Cameron. We don't see eye to eye on plenty of stuff, I guess. But, man, he reminded me in the midst of that story that there are only half a dozen stories to tell.
That's right.
There are only half a dozen.
I think there's 7 classic stories.
Yeah.
Here's something that you might have to explain yourself away on a little bit, Michael. They took a look at, I've seen a number of experiments on this. It was done on young children. And they took a look at kids and told them to tell a lie to other kids. And it turned out that the kids who were the best storytellers were the biggest liars. And they were just naturally good at it. So all acting is really lying. I'm not saying that storytelling is lying, but you have to inhabit, you have to.
I'll say it.
Let's go.
Storytelling is lying.
Okay.
It's not deceiving, but again, in the interest of no new ideas and no new tropes, never let the facts get in the way of a good story. Yeah, I don't turn on the news to hear stories. I turn on the news to get facts. I look to journalists to inform me, and then I can go to another place, to another level, to get more insight, more point of view, and so forth. If I want a story, I'll pick up Mark Twain. I'll pick up David Sedaris.
I'm so glad you mentioned Twain. We're going to be talking about him a little bit today.
Take me on a trip. I remember years ago, Sedaris was criticized pretty roundly for exaggerating the qualities of his family members. And he said, well, what do you think Mark Twain did? Do you think that Jumping Frog in Calaveras County was anything other than just a figment of his? I mean, why do you read my books? Why do you pick this book up? Sedaris was smart because he wrote biographically, in a way that I think the reader would assume would be true because, my God, his family's still alive and walking around for the most part. Mm-hmm. But in the end, he knew that the mundane reality of most of our lives can be immeasurably heightened by a good story. You don't pull facts out of thin air necessarily, but everything becomes a slight exaggeration. It's why my podcast is called The Way I Heard It.
Absolutely. And all of the great stories that I love to tell about things that actually happened to me, when I think about how they actually happened to me, they're not nearly as interesting. And nobody wants them to be. What you really want. You want your characters to be. You want them to be more clever than real people talking, and you want to just get to the fun of it, I guess is what I'm saying.
You want to see a more interesting version of yourself.
Yes, that's right. I noticed something. I was thinking about Mark Twain about this too, and I let me just sort of run this backwards. The conclusion I came to is that you can be a monologuist and you can do a monologue and be a bastard, but a genuine storyteller seems to have to love people. I'm not talking about a writer now. I'm talking about a person who gets up and actually tells the story. And that's one of the things about Twain that was so remarkable. And I think it was his friend Howells who said that the quality that makes a great writer and the quality that makes a great speaker are so opposite to each other that the idea that Twain could do both of them was almost supernatural. But that's the kind of storytelling I'm talking about, the kind of storytelling that you're doing, because when you tell your stories, it's clear you not only love the story, but you love the people you're telling the story to. You're not lecturing us, and you're not monologuing us. It's a weird sort of thing, Mike. It's an interactive thing, but there's no interaction. But it's got that feeling, That's, I guess, what I'm trying to say is very simple. A great storyteller will always make the person listening feel like he's talking directly to that person, and even if it's a room full of people, you can pull that off.
So thank you. That's some high cotton. The first time I heard that compliment directed towards somebody, it was Frank Sinatra. And of course, I would say 98% of the songs Sinatra sang are pure stories. And he would stand on a stage at Madison Square Garden, and you could be in the last row. And son of a bitch if you didn't think that guy was talking to you. Right to you. That's Mike Rowe and Mac Rowe at the same time. Throw in some music and you get a slightly different set of muscles, a different card to play. But look, I think you're really onto something interesting about the line between a written story presented or a tale pulled out of your butt and told. 2 days ago, I was in Vegas, and I've been on this speaking jag. I spoke over the course of a week to 4,000 people at Jersey Mike's, and then I spoke to 5,000 people at the Pike Corporation, which is a giant electric company out of the southeast. And then I wound up speaking in Vegas 2 days ago in the MGM Theater. Sold out. Must have been 11,000 people there.
It's impressive.
And I'm in the center of a thing that spins, and there's cannons that shoot fire and smoke. And it was one of these 10X events, right, where people pay to go. And it's not some big corporate thing, but there were a lot of people there. And I had 90 minutes, and all they wanted to hear were some stories. So, in between these events in my hotel room, I'm writing new episodes of The Way I Heard It, which are 10-minute stories told from the inside out in the Paul Harvey style.
Yep.
So here's my point. If I'm lucky or blessed, and I think I'm both, it's because I get to I'll never fill the shoes of Paul Harvey or Spalding Gray, but to follow in their footsteps is a great privilege and and a great challenge. And at the same time, to go out there in front of a bunch of people without a net and drag 11,000 strangers through the sewer, or walk them through the detail of coaxing the sperm out of a Brahmin bull named Hunsucker Commando, and then talk in greater detail about the complexities of getting the Discovery Channel to actually put that on in prime time, and then to land the plane around a giant sea change in the future farmers of America and the way that big organizations started talking about where our food came from as a result of artificial insemination, which I snuck on the air on the Discovery Channel when nobody was looking. So, like, all of these different things, Bill, come down to the same basic question. Where are you going to start? Where are you going to end? And are you going to keep anybody's attention in the middle?
Tunsucker Commando was my high school nickname. It's just a weird coincidence.
I knew there was something about you that was familiar. I just did not think it had.
Not that familiar.
Not that familiar.
Nickname is just a weird coincidence.
I knew there was something about you that was familiar. I just did not think it had.
Not that familiar.
Not that familiar.
Okay, there it is. And I'll tell you what's fun about that is we good? We all back? Yeah, we seem to be back. I'm going to be more aware of this next time. But one thing that I noticed is that, and it's true for pretty much any interview you do. That was the very first part of the first interview. Thank you very much, guys. Thank you for all the kind words. We've got 7 more segments out of just the storytelling thing. We've got a segment on hot audiences. We've got a segment on going to see Les Miserables on Broadway. And what I was thank you. What the main point I'm trying to make is that the interview got better and better and better, got more and more animated, more and more fun, more and more laughs. So that's actually what you just saw is the kind of the driest of the segments that we did, and I'm real happy with it. I'm real happy with the way it looks, and Mike's great, and we've got a lot of material. We've probably got another easily 10 more just out of the Mike Rowe thing. And as I said before, we're going to have 2 things held in reserve for our members at BillWhittle.com. One of them is going to be there's about 15-20 minutes of just political talk, and which in this case is just kind of can you believe what we're actually seeing? And during the political session, Mike Rowe revealed something really knocked me out, really surprised me. Thank you so much, everybody. Thank you for the kind words. It means the world to me. I've been holding on to this thing for about a year, and it gets a lot more interactive as it goes on, a lot more loose. So when we do the next one, I'm going to save. I'm purposely going to insert 10-15 minutes of kind of like warm-up material. Not going to lead with the very first thing. But all that said, I'm just really happy with it. I just think it looks really great. I'm really happy. It took a long time to get this thing lit and to get the wall painted and super black the wall so that that the shadows don't show up on it. It just becomes like this blacked out area. And Mike is great. He's going to be he's going to be terrific. And the show that he's working on now that I was fortunate enough to do, I think 4 the first time and 7 the second time. The way that I heard it, which is he's turning it from his audio to a TV show. and I'm on, oh gosh, I'm on 12, I think 12 of the episodes as his guest. So those are on their way out, and those are going to be fun. I'm going to be helping him work on some of the post-production for that as well. And altogether, just couldn't be happier. It'll be a little bit sharper. I only noticed this when I did the output just about a half hour before we rolled the show. It's came out at 7:20, and it's a 1080 resolution, so I'm probably gonna have to resize all the shots, which is kind of a pain in the butt, but worth it. Yeah, so thank you very much. It means a lot to me, and I really really appreciate the kind words, because it's great. But as I said, we talk about going to see Les Miserables and Sweeney Todd. We've got a very short little beat where we talk about storytelling as a form of, almost a form of music, and the whole idea of the common campfire that we don't have, where we're not watching the same stories anymore, and we're not watching them at the same time. So thank you. That's great. Looks like a winner. I love it. Thank you very much. So with that milestone out of the way, we're going to spend the next couple days buffing up the new channel. We're in continuous work on the website to not only make it faster for members, but to make sure that membership thing is foolproof, because we don't want to do a big membership rush and then have, technical failures, which I just absolutely hate. Well, I can't just hate. It's just not. That's just not. That can't happen. That just simply can't happen. Yeah, I could. Andrew Clavin would be a great person to have in talking about screenwriting. But I want to bring in some real firepower. So as I've said before, this is the last thing I'll say about it, I guess, for the night anyway, and then we'll get to the comments. But given the number of segments that we're able to get out of a recording session, I think one recording session a month will be great. Thank you, John Eden, with a $100 super chat back again, and very, very grateful for all of this. I want to catch up on the super chats, make sure I didn't miss any. Pack of three in a big ass something as a super chat said, here's some cash to celebrate with Bean. Happy still with you, Bill. I've been wondering. Thank you for the kind words. You guys are just the best. We had a super chat earlier from AM saying, I'd love to see Jonathan Pajot on Story Mechanics. It sounds like fun. Joseph J. Cosenza III. Thoughts on yesterday's Liberation Day? I hope we'll get that comment, and if we don't, I'll try to remember to do it. Just a like and subscribe super chat from FIFO Fast, and I think that's everybody. Thank you for everything. Yeah, it's feeling good. Looks like a TV show anyway, and doesn't look overproduced. Feels real good. Hey, Chris, and I'm just real happy with all of it. So I really did need to hear. I'm grateful for the really positive response. Thank you so much. It was I've been putting it off, and when you bet your farm on something, you kind of, I don't know, it makes you hesitate until you get it exactly right in your head, and that's kind of what happened with us. Marisha Dark says, please add Tom Bilyeu and Brett Weinstein to the list. A lot of people I'd like to add. I've got a lot of celebrity friends, though. I want to get those people out there first. I get the feeling we might do Gary Sinise next in May. I think that's a likely choice. I want to have some stuff to show to John, and I think hopefully we'll do John Voight in June. And we've got a bunch of people. Another donation from Roadrunner. Thank you for the super chat. Marisha Dark with a super chat. Roadrunner with $20 super chat saying, I wish I could donate more. You guys do so much. Hopefully this will, thank you, Trinity. That's sweet. This will hopefully break me out of a little bit out of just the political stuff, and maybe I can enter the entertainment commentary ecosystem and see if I can find myself talking with Nerdrotic and Critical Drinker and that whole crowd. I'll tell you one person I really do want to get there. We run, you don't get to see it on YouTube, but we run Mike Jitlov's Animato as our walk-in for the Stratosphere Lounge. And I'd really like to talk to him because Jitlov is the opposite of Mike Rowe. Mike Rowe is all voice and Mike Jitlov is all visual, and he's got it down to the frame. So I'm looking forward to talking. We're not going to run out of people to talk to, that's for sure. And since I know a number of celebrities, my feeling is if we get enough shows out there with celebrities, then might have a chance to talk to people who I don't know who are celebrities. So that would be a lot of fun. Okay, let's go get some questions out of the way, shall we? Let's see here. I need to move this over. A second. But thank you again, and thank you all for the kind words about me. Chris LSR says he met Mike Jitlov. I may or may not have known that. I don't remember if you told me that before, Chris. But he's a bloody genius, man. When I watched Animato, I realized he's doing all of this without any software. It's all done frame by frame by frame. Thank you, Trinity Waters, with a super chat for a toy for new Bean. New toy for old Bean. Okay, we'll get something. He's just Kevin Sorbo. I think is a slam dunk. I absolutely piece of cake. My wife, beautiful Natasha, did photography for them and did some photo sessions for them, and they came out great. Wizard of Speed and Time, but Animato is phenomenal. How he cuts it to the to the sub-second. He's really on it. Thank you. All right, so Pack 3 and a big SRV. That's the full name there that we didn't get a chance to get. All right, so let me see if I can get myself organized here. Clint Eastwood is a possibility. I know one of the people that's already agreed to do the show is Tom Dreesen, stand-up comic who's really phenomenal, and Tommy Tom is good friends with Clint, so I suppose that's a possibility. So let's go to our questions for our members, and then if we have any time left over, we'll see what we can grab from the comment section. Although I have to say that's tempting. No, I'm gonna keep it here. So Marusha Dark curated the questions for us this week, and thank you, Marusha. It's all done by volunteers, and it just makes my life enormously easier. So yeah. Let's see. First question, Marusha Dark. Topic, GFK files so far. Okay, here we go. A bit of a read here. So I watched the entire hearing on the House Oversight Task Force for JFK headed by Representative Anna Luna, as well as an analysis and summary of the newly released files. Unsurprisingly, some of the Dems wanted to make the hearing about Trump, Signalgate, and the hasty leaking of SSNs in the declassified documents. Yeah, I don't think Signalgate's much of a gate, to be honest with you. I spent many hours last week probing Grok for any information it could give about the newly released documents, asking it for evidence both for and against each point I raised. Here's a detailed summary of that conversation, including major findings and insights, person of interest, new revelations about forensic evidence, potential CIA, mafia, foreign involvement, and what Grok considers to be the top 5 strongest alternative competing hypotheses to the lone gunman narrative, along with its rationale for each. We got to try to get these things shorter. It actually ranked CIA involvement as highly likely for several reasons. See notes for details. Among other things, the documents refer to a CIA insider named John Garrett Underhill, who claimed that the CIA was directly involved right before he mysteriously committed suicide. Grok rated Underhill as having high credibility in this regard. Based on my reading of the evidence, I'd say Underhill was probably Epsteined. In the task force hearing, this was brought up as well, and we learned that the CIA lied significantly to Congress several times about what it had regarding Oswald and JFK. Representative Luna even presented a document which the CIA itself rejected, the lone gunman theory. If you have time, I'd like to know what you think of the findings I linked, and even encourage you to ask Grok yourself. Some potentially important info is still redacted and more is scheduled to be released as of my writing this, but I'll leave you with a question for the time being. Here we go. If the lone gunman narrative were true, as you believe, why bother covering stuff up for over 60 years and lie about it if there was nothing to hide but a few bank accounts, social security numbers, and the name of field operatives? Well, I don't really know what to say about that. If it's your bank account or your social security number or the name of field operatives, then they're going to classify it, and it's going to stay classified, and then the thing develops a life of its own. But it's been out for a while now, and I have not, as I said, I was sure that if a smoking gun was there, we would have heard about it within the first, certainly 24 hours of the release of it. And we haven't heard any smoking gun stuff. What we've heard are the kind of little details that just get operationally deleted from, all kinds of things. And let's not forget that that the Warren Commission and the investigation was an enormous deal with thousands and thousands of pages of testimony from hundreds of different people. So, some of that stuff are going to be redacted. But again, all of these people who have this theory, there's a theory that the driver turned around and shot Kennedy, and all of this stuff has so many blockers and so many problems. And the only theory out there that doesn't have blockers and problems is that Lee Harvey Oswald acted alone. There's the blockers that they raise. Oh, he couldn't have gotten the shots off in that time. Well, it turns out he absolutely could have. And Gerald Posner lays it all out. The magic bullet isn't a magic bullet. The idea that one of the bullets was undamaged or undeformed, it was deformed. It went sideways through Connolly and had slowed down by the time it went through soft tissue on Kennedy, so it wasn't mushroomed like the bullet that hit him in the back of the head, and all the rest of this stuff. So, as I said before, I'll say it again. If it turns out that there is evidence in these files that it was the mob, or it was the Cubans, or it was the Russians, or it was Johnson, or then I'll admit I was wrong. But based on the evidence that's available, it seems clear to me that this is what it was. And I saw the same thing happen in real time with the 9/11 thing, where when you watch 9/11 in real time, there's no question what's going on. None. Nobody had any questions about what was going on when you watch it in real time. It's when you start getting in there and you start frame effing is a term that we use in editing. And we don't say effing. But when you get a producer, the term that was in fashion for a while was when I was working as an editor in Hollywood, I was really a predator. I was a producer editor, and I did the cuts myself. I would just get the raw footage like I did with Story Mechanics, and I would make the decisions on what goes in and what doesn't. That's not very common for editors. Most of the time, there's a producer in the back, and the producer says, "Well, we'll take this out or that out," but I just had a good ear for it, and every episode of Sunday Morning Shootout, and we did 164 of them, I think. They just let me cut myself, and so you just get an ear for the story, and I didn't. I remember when a producer would come in and say, "Can we shorten that up by a quarter of a second?" It's like, sure. Okay, just give it a little bit more air. Give it a little. So you add 3 frames. You add 1/10 of a second. Yeah, I think that's better. That's called frame effing. And when you take things apart frame by frame. For example, on the 9/11 conspiracy thing, there's a theory that the 767 had a pod, that there was a pod underneath it, explosive pod or a radar jamming pod, some kind of pod, and they showed this one picture, and there's this, sure enough, there's this bright thing on the bottom of this frame of the 767, but it's got all kinds of JPEG artifacts around it. And I said, it's not exactly a crystal clear picture. I said, let me see the source footage. Well, they won't show you the source footage, because if you see the source footage, what it is when the plane is banking, it's a glint. It's a glint off the bottom of the plane. And it's only good for one frame. And that's just outright lying. That's just plain lying. And, you know, I just really almost dare anybody to read. If you're interested in this case, you owe it to yourself, you owe it to your sanity, and you owe it to John F. Kennedy to read Case Closed. If you read Case Closed and you still have doubts, then, you know, okay. Then I'll listen to the doubts. But it is the most exhaustive and entertaining piece of reporting. That is journalism in its highest form. Case Closed by Gerald Posner is an astonishingly good book. And the more you learn about Oswald, the more likely it becomes. And nobody talks about Oswald. But this whole book is about Oswald. And Ruby. A lot about Ruby. So anyway, yeah, so far, I haven't seen anything to change my mind. Okay, moving on. Road Rider. Bill, do you know who Mike Benz is? And if so, have you watched some of his interviews with Benny Johnson and Dan Bongino? Does he sound credible to you? I don't know who Mike Benz is. If you don't know who he is, hey, Marusha, do you know of Mike Benz? Thanks. And if being rebounded, yes, enjoy these days as best you can. If not, well, I'll just say I have 3 of those little paw prints in clay discs. Well, it's sweet. It still sucks. I'm going 18-point font because Bill and those reading glasses. Yes, thank you very much. Eric says Posner's still around analyzing the new JFK files, but I don't think he's going to have to do a rewrite. Look, I could be wrong. Part of me wants to be wrong, but most of me doesn't on this particular case. I think learning how to think critically and accepting ambiguity with probability, right? I mean, for example, we don't have footage of it. So if the probability is 98% or something, then I'm happy with that. You know, it'd be nice to have it 100%, but sometimes that's not possible. So I'm comfortable with 98% probability or whatever the probability is. And if it turns out that 2% comes up, then okay, well, then I was wrong. A lot of people were wrong, and life got more interesting. But it doesn't seem to be the case. And I think it's kind of important to at least hear the other side of the story. Look, as I said, I'm not immune to this. I went through a period where I saw a movie called Anonymous, and a documentary as well. And then I read a book about how all the works of Shakespeare were written by Edward de Vere, 16th Earl of Oxford, that he was the most likely candidate out of the many people, including Francis Bacon, who claimed that they actually wrote Shakespeare, were the actual authors of Shakespeare's plays. And for about a week, I was utterly convinced that Edward de Vere, 16th Earl of Oxford, was the author of those plays. And then I did something that I'm rather proud of and that I would recommend to everybody, and that is that I went looking for the contrary opinion. And the contrary opinion was something like who was Shakespeare, or I forget what the hell the book was. And all of the objections that they'd raised as blockers to the idea that it wasn't William of Stratford were put away, effortlessly put away. I'll just give you an example of a little one. Like in the documentaries and so on, they said William Shakespeare's 3 daughters were illiterate; they couldn't write. How is that conceivable that the greatest writer of all time, had daughters who were illiterate? William Shakespeare was not the author of these plays. It was Edward de Vere, who had traveled the world and all these other things. And somebody says, women were not educated in those days. Certainly not royal women were not educated in those days. None of them went to school. Okay, all of it. They didn't like the fact that Shakespeare was a wool merchant, a filthy capitalist who cared about his money. He was an investor. He was an actor. So anyway, I don't need to get into the whole Shakespeare thing, but in any event, you kind of owe it to yourself, if it's a subject you really care about, to listen to the best evidence against your argument. And there you go. So, ba-boom. So anyway, I don't know who Mike Benz is, but I'm sure I will check it out. Baron of Great Matter says, Bill, Mike Ben's interview with Tucker and also with Joe Rogan is well worth your time. Will add greatly to your awareness of USAID at all. I may have seen him. I may just not recognize the name. But in any event, I don't know him, but I'm sure he's terrific. And, we keep this show rolling and the memberships come in. We'll interview every single person on the world. We'll get to everybody eventually. Moving on, Capital G Geek. Let me just scroll down and see what we got. We got Capital G Geek. We got Eric Blake. We got Roadrunner. We got Marusha Dark. Okay, we can get through those easily. Capital G Geek. Greetings from the swamps of Northern Virginia. The risk of offending your new best friend Grok. My experience with LLM AI hasn't been good. I had a relatively simple technical task that I needed to automate, but I couldn't find out the specific command I needed. At the suggestion of my manager, I asked the AI and got an entire script in return. It got an error, which I gave back to the AI, and it produced a new script. I repeated that process 4 or 5 times until it recycled itself and gave me the first script again. It wouldn't or couldn't admit that it was wrong. I kept digging and, this is probably Timu AI. I repeated the process 4 or 5 times, hello, Lord Bios, until it recycled itself. I kept digging and I found that the commands I was trying to use were retired years ago and not available on my systems, even though I specifically told it the version required. I've seen it make similar mistakes with Android OS versions, etc. Is it sourcing information from fiction as well as physics? What are the chances that it's giving you what you want and you don't know how true it is? An AI Gelman amnesia type effect. You previously mentioned the army fighting a gang. Here's a video about that. Yes, I saw that video. Thank you. I can't speak for LLM AI. I can only speak for Grok. It's the only one I've actually spent some time interacting with, and have had some, I thought, profound interactions with Grok that were very entertaining to me. My friend Jim Harding has explained to me why this isn't really a conversation with an entity. He's talked about how these things actually work. Jim is one of the people that I do want to interview on story mechanics, because he's the guy who I told you was there at the birth of DOS and was right in there with Jeff Bezos and all of these guys, Bill Gates and that whole crowd. And he is a genius, really, really genuine, brilliant genius. And I want to have a talk with him about this stuff too. But even talking to a large language model was great. And I understand. Again, it's not that I have mixed feelings about it. My experiences have been pretty much universally positive with Grok. In fact, overwhelmingly positive, mind-expanding positive. But at the same time, I am also intellectually fascinated at how I'm being emotionally, I don't want to say manipulated, because that's a little bit nefarious. Massaged, maybe massaged. But when it gave me the physics, man, it gave me the physics, and it was consistent with the physics. And I had so much fun talking to. I've said many times that my entire life I've wanted to have just an hour with somebody with a 200-300 IQ, just to have it explain things to me in a fashion that a slow child could follow, and I've just been really, really impressed. You might want to try. You said you tried LLM AI. Give Grok a try. Steve Green put it best. He said, "You ask Grok what time it is, and it'll show you how to build a clock." And And by the way, if you do try grok, capital G, you'll find that grok is effusive in its emotion algorithms, and I enjoyed it at first. I got a little tired of it after a while. You can type in a command to grok and say, "Hey grok, could you please scale back your emotional response to 50% of baseline or 70%. 70% is comfortable for me." You could take it to 0, in which case it will just say next question, you know. There you go. I'd be curious to know what your experience is with grok. Here's a whole bunch of stuff that includes. This is for this is for my website, I think. These 2 elements take over 10 seconds to load. Billwhittle.com uploads. Write blog post PNG. 1 file? 2 files? I'm going to take a look at those 2 files. The 2 elements. I don't know. I will take a look at that. Thank you very much for that, for putting that technical information out there, capital J. Appreciate it. Eric Blake, tonight, the case of the Republican age gap. Hey, Bill, as someone who's followed your work since PJTV, I recall how among your typical opening lines whenever speaking to the Republican Party gathering was a little ditty that said the average age in the Republican Party meeting is deceased. That's right, the average age of Republicans is deceased. So with the November election results in mind, how much would you say that's reversed, and what are your thoughts in general about it? I am over the moon, tickled pink, grinning like a macaque with a body cam. I am absolutely crazy happy that Trump's highest levels of support are among people 40 and younger. That must scare the Democrats out of their depends. It must scare them to the skies, man. It's got to terrify them. So as they get less and less and less popular, they've lost Hispanics, they've lost blacks, they've lost, or I should say Latinos, they've lost blacks, they've lost the working man, and they've lost the young people, because people can tell mendacity. They're at 21% now. I think I said it on I do call-ins for Newsmax. I do Carl Higbee's show, usually once a week or every other week. And they were talking about, thank you, Story Monster, super chat for $5. She says, thank you, Bill. And Carl Higbee was talking about their numbers, and I said, you get down to 20%, Carl, there are venereal diseases that have a higher rating than that. So yes, it's a Gen Z rebellion. I love it, Lord Bios. I think it's great. I don't know what I think the main reason is, like I said, authenticity. That's the coin of the realm. It's what you look for in YouTube, and just the sense that this is a real person. I think Gen Z is much more comfortable with people that they believe are telling the truth, even if they don't agree with them, than they are with people who they're convinced are lying to them or talking down to them. So one of the things, I think it's on our backstage show, all our right angles are late this week. I'll get one of them up tonight. But I've been working hard on the story mechanics thing. We were talking about Trump talking about a third term. And, some people were saying, it was Scott and I just having a conversation, and, Scott and to some degree Steve were saying, why is he doing this? It's just not helping any. I said the same thing about Panama and Greenland. I was wrong about those things. It may just be Trump. Just he's so much more disciplined than he was in as 45th president. He's much more disciplined on his messaging. Maybe it was just third term thing just kind of slipped out. I think he's trolling people on purpose. I think maybe he was trying to pull focus away from the business with Signal, which I don't find to be particularly egregious, but especially given the previous couple previous secretaries of state. But they've got this Crockett is a godsend. Having this woman just F-bombing everything is like great. Okay, you got Alexandria Ocasio. The only two people they have that are under 90 are AOC and Crockett, and AOC's dumb as a box of empty vodka bottles, and Crockett is about as ghetto as you get. Not a good look, man. And I don't think I don't know. I just feel really solid. It feels like some of the momentum has gone out of Doge. That may just be because Doge is moving quieter now. I think we haven't gotten a question about it yet, but I think this, and we probably would have done it as the right angles. I just thought the story was too old at the time, but it's a gift that keeps on giving. This anti-Tesla demonstration of progressives defacing other liberals' cars. The people that own Teslas are liberals. Not all of them. Needless to say, my friend Brent Regan, who's the smartest guy I ever met in my life, and the most capable guy I've ever met in my life, bought a Tesla Plaid. And I think I told you guys about that when I was up there. The Plaid is he he has his own runway. We found a patch of highway, and he I think the Plaid is set up so that if you put your foot on the brakes and run up the accelerator, when you let your foot off the brakes, it just goes, and it's actually a little bit terrifying. and I love speed, man. But that thing goes, it's like being shot out of a cannon. It's just astonishing. And incredible engineering on that car. But this business about them, keying cars of people, how does this hurt Elon? He's already got their money. All it does is turn other liberals into, MAGA candidates. I mean, it's just insane, and they're all being paid. They're clear they're being paid because a lot of these Tesla protests right at noon, ding dong, it's noon, everybody goes home. And yeah, ludicrous speed, says Lord Bios. The only thing faster than Plaid is ludicrous speed. It feels like that. You really do feel like your feet are like hanging in the air behind the car. I felt like I was graying out. I love to go fast. I love it, and I've driven Corvettes and had cars that were Jesus acceleration, but the Plaid is in another league. The Plaid grayed me out. It's like, holy crap! It's got. Strangely enough, I think it has 3 electric motors. I think 3 of the wheels have their own electric motors. I would see 2 or 4. I don't know why they do 3, but as I recall, it was 3. But it's 900 horsepower, and it's 900 horsepower of electric motor torque. There's instantaneous torque. And Roadrunner says he saw a picture of a Tesla Cybertruck with Toyota on the back. That's actually brilliant. Natasha can't stand those cars, those trucks. Just first time we saw one, I said I kind of agree. They're kind of FU vehicles, but man, does that. Dave Big Boot says, I saw a guy with a Cybertruck wrapped it in red and gold with Iron Man vanity plates. That would be a wicked, badass looking machine. But this Elon hate is really scary to me. I think Elon is, well, I don't want to make these comparisons, but since the election and since everything is moving on automatic, I think he's the most irreplaceable person on the planet. And he's not generating anything. The masses have been told to hate Elon Musk, and so they're out for his blood. They want him dead. And if he were just a really, really smart guy and not the richest guy in the world, I'd be even more worried. But in any event, this level of insane hatred, this keying the cars, and I just want to kill these people. Any vandalism of any kind has something. Oh, you're right. I didn't realize it was the next question. So anyway, Eric, I'm very, very happy about young people, and now I'll say that's the average age of a Democratic meeting. So there you go. And Roadrunner in the chat says, read the question. He's right. Greetings, friend Bill. Will progressive politicians ever be held accountable for their calls for violence against Elon Musk and Tesla? Same for progressive talk show hosts and media. Please give Natasha and Bean and the rest our best wishes. Well, thank you. Roadrunner, I get the feeling. I think Elon himself said the people that are organizing this are about to get a wake-up call. And we have a Justice Department now and an FBI now, and they're taking this real seriously. So I think they're gonna regret it. And when you have so many, and it's not just the 4 years of Biden, although certainly that was the worst of it. When you've had 10, 20 years of not enforcing the law, these people think they can get away with it. And if they get caught, and most of them will get caught, then if they get prison time, they're going to be, oh, we got prison time? Yeah, you're going to get prison time. Remember that video that came out? I think it was actually even before the inauguration, where California voted in the new laws. They might have taken effect on January 1st. Where it became a crime to shoplift in California again. Before that, it was like, oh, you can take $1,000, no worries. As long as you keep it under $1,000, yeah, just take whatever you need. And these two chicks in the back of this car, and they said, we going to jail? Yeah, we're going to jail. New laws, bitch. It's like, new laws, bitch. That ought to be a bumper sticker. So, anyway, Alan Matthews says, you know who was tough on criminals? The Nazis, LOL. He's right. You know who else was tough on criminals? The communists, LOL. No, I know. It's being tough on crime is. You know who else? You know who else metabolized oxygen, like conservatives? The Nazis. So, there you go. So yes, I'm looking forward to the big stick coming down and giving them a reality encounter. So that would be really cool. Lord Bio says, how much room does El Salvador have? I don't know, but I think the deterrent effect of going to prison in El Salvador is something to be admired. I understand Hitler was also a vegan. Yes, they don't mention that often, do they? These left-wing progressives who are constantly calling conservatives Hitler Nazis. Hitler was not just a vegetarian; he was a vegetarian activist. He was a radical vegetarian. So there you go. Did you know that Hitler drank water, just like conservatives? I did not know that, P7. Goes higher than people thought. It's just, man, it's hard to believe. Hate for Elon isn't just from Democrats. He's pissed off Ds, Rs, and Indies. I don't know how. Paul says I don't know any. I don't know any R's who's pissed off at Elon Musk. I know a lot of R's are really on our side. So there we go. Yeah. Okay, we got Marusha Dark, and I think that's it. Topic. 3 quick suggestions. Number 1, since you're looking to gain more members, I recommend pinning a link to the BillW.com member sign-up page on the top of the Twitch YouTube channel. Great idea. I will do it as soon as we get this thing functional. The website talks to a company called Recurly. Then Recurly pays Stripe, and then Stripe pays us. So we've had some problems with the sign-up, and we cannot. It's just suicide. I might as well just harakiri myself. So yes, but when we do that, that's a great idea. Pin the comments on YouTube and chat. You're absolutely right. It's great. It's a great idea and much easier to do than I originally thought, because I am, I'm a man of a certain age, and I'm set in my ways, and I like stick-em notes. I actually don't like stick-em notes. I never like stick-em notes. I just thought I'd say that. Good idea, number 1. Number 2, someone mentioned thumbnails for TSL. Since you don't know the topic beforehand, you could use your TSL blue screen as the default in OBS and end title and custom thumbnail afterwards to help it in the algorithm. Also look into enabling monetization on Twitch as well for more passive income. Yeah, TSL is not really a revenue source in terms of views. I mean, they generally get 2,500 views. Now, that adds up over time, especially since I do 2 a week. But it's not a significant source of revenue. I do TSLs for mostly a therapy session for me. It's good for me, and I like talking to people, and it's a big popular part of the package. And we don't have a whole lot of shelf space there, so there's that. And Roadrunner says, you know who else was a man of a certain age? Hitler. Yes, every little bit helps. Absolutely, it does. But there's a time factor in there too. The nice thing would be to get enough members to be able to get our editor back. Mark did the editing on Right Angles for years and did a lot of that posting, and I've had to do that, and I would go longer tonight. It's a short show. Might keep it short though, because I have Right Angles that I need to post tonight, and I'd like to get on that. I've been working hard on editing the story mechanics thing, so I could use a short show tonight, having gotten through all the questions, just because I've still got another hour and a half to go before that. Yeah, Marusha says you put off super chats for the longest time, but you routinely get $100 plus per show. Yeah, we'd be getting $20 plus per show if it weren't for John Eden, who's putting $100 in there pretty much every time he shows up. He's just an amazing fellow, and we're very grateful for that. People are turning on Trump because of the stock market decline. Look, I don't think anybody's. I don't know anybody who voted for Trump who's turning on Trump. I think there's going to be a dip, but here's the thing about the stock market, man, and I was in a panic on this, once, and I know this sounds so simple, but it caused me a lot of, it gave me a great deal of serenity, because it's so obvious that nobody sees it. When let's say there's like a market crash and the thing just goes down, I mean, just plunges, or just goes down, right? And everybody's selling. Somebody pointed out this to me. It's so obvious. But when the market crashes and everybody's selling, somebody is buying. Somebody's buying. And that's just genius. Baron of Grey Matter said that's, and Rough Ryan too says that's when you buy. When the stocks are tanking, it's time to buy, because these things are the result of panic. Humans panic. And by the way, and Roadrunner beat me to it again, you don't lose money in the stock market until you sell. So if you buy something that's at $100 a share and the thing just craters and it goes down to $10 a share and you sell it at $10 a share, then you've lost your money. But if you hold on to it you've got $10 shares now. Yes, your paper value, your immediate value of what you can convert that to is a tenth of what it used to be. But if you hang on to it, then it'll get up. If it gets up again, usually it does. It'll get back up to 100 again, may go higher. You end up making money. And if you really believe in the company, you can buy another 10 shares for the price of one, and then they all go up. Now, it doesn't always work that way. Sometimes when a stock craters, it craters. But when the entire market craters, that market is going to come back. I'm trying to remember the exact number. I know the year was 1995. I was in Gainesville. We were doing Grazing, which was that sketch comedy show I did. And we had a channel called, what was that channel called? Was it? Oh, PNN, the Psychic News Network, where we did this idea where there was this news network that could predict the future. And I remember there was a line in there that said, tomorrow's stock market prices are, and it gave the stock market prices, and I think the Dow was at either 2,000 or 4,000, but it was not more than 4,000. It was 1995. The Dow was like, we said, let's give it a high number, 4,000. 4,000, really? You think the Dow will ever get to 4,000? Yeah, it might get to 4,000. It's at 40,000 now. So, yeah, I think the professionals look at these crashes just as I think they look at them the same way cowboys look at herd of sheep. It's a herd of cows rather. Cowboys look at their herds of sheep. Yeah, I think they go moo. Okay, let the amateurs spend their money and lose their money, and then we'll just pick up the pieces. I have to answer this just because it's so personalized. I've got one more for Marusha. But your busted half nickel swamp says, hey Bill, my dad Rolando Rodriguez from Pasadena, California, Eaton Canyon Mountains, asked me to ask you about your thoughts on E.T. movie and if you think there should be an E.T. Part 2. Thanks, Bill. How do I not answer that? I liked E.T. a lot when I saw it. I thought it made me sad. I may have gotten a little teary-eyed about it. But the thing about E.T. is that I never really had a desire to see it again. I haven't seen it since I saw it when it came out in movie theaters, and I want to say that was, 83 or something? The movie that I loved, Natasha didn't like much at all, but that I just absolutely loved was Close Encounters. That movie really, really changed my DNA. I just thought, and they came out relatively close to each other. It was the highest grossing movie of all time for a long time, and then they re-edited it, and they went back, and Spielberg got to be like an old grandmother, and changed it, and the guys can't have guns because if you have guns, it just don't do that. So as far as ET2 goes, I don't think you can repeat the magic. I don't think it would look good enough. I think special effects have come a long way. If they did ET2, they'd probably use CG, and I don't think that would be quite the same. So I think they ought to just leave E.T. the way it is. It's many people's favorite movie, and I think they ought to just leave that one alone, which means no doubt they'll be doing a soft reboot of it, and there we'll go. So who knows? Eric Blake says, fortunately Spielberg regretted it and since edited the guns back in. Is that true? Makes me happy to know that. And I think E.T. might have been a product of its times as well. It was a more innocent time. I just don't know how it would play. I just love Close Encounters. Though Close Encounters really moved me. Close Encounters really When Spielberg did Close Encounters, he was in a period where he was wearing like a leather vest and a leather cowboy hat. And I searched the city of Miami, and I mean I searched everywhere looking for an identical leather cowboy hat like he had. I just thought, man, that was amazing. Tranquility Base USA, Close Encounters was 1977, the year we graduated. CGHS, the baddest band from east to west. Yes, at Coral Gables High School. I have not heard from Coral Gables High School. I don't know if whether my army that I sent out to get me the graduate of distinction thing, maybe they're looking it over, but the nominations closed 3 days ago. By the way, I don't know if you knew this, Tranquility Base, but do you know who is a Coral Gables class of distinction? Did I ever get your letter? Letter or email letter? A couple people got their applications in. Roy Seekoff, who was head of the drama department, who's a left-wing communist who worked with Michael Moore, is a Coral Gables High School. I have not seen it yet, Tranquility Base, but we only pick up the mail, the snail mail, once a week, so it's possible that it's waiting for us down at our P.O. box. But yeah, Roy Seekoff, who worked with Michael Moore weeks ago. No, I have to. I didn't get it, so let me make a note to see. It might be. I mean, Shelley's so good with things. And I'm not blaming her. It's undoubtedly my fault. I'll look for it, Dave. I would like to I'd like to debate him at the 75th anniversary. I wonder how much money the class communist has. I'll bet he's got a bit packed away. Let me just go back and wrap up Marush's final thing. Number 3, would you consider posting the video of Bean to the channel? I think people would appreciate it. Alternatively, would you bring Natasha and Bean to the studio on Monday for your and her birthday stream? I'm not entirely sure about whether there's going to be a show on Monday night. To be honest with you, there may or may not be. I suspect there probably won't be. I might be able to, Dave Big Booty says he can afford to be a communist. I might push it to Tuesday. Yeah, because Monday night is Bill's birthday. Sunday night is Natasha's birthday. It's convenient for both of us. We get to turn that into a fun kind of party. So I think chances are pretty good that we won't be doing Stratosphere Studio on Monday. I'll see if I can push it to Tuesday. Do I have anything Tuesday? No, I don't think I do. Dr. Grifka, cardiologist. He's going to be doing the what is it? Doppler cardiogram. Did I get my varsity letter? No, I didn't get my varsity letter. That was one of the questions on the nomination form. What has Bill done for Coral Gables High School since he's graduated? Nothing. Thank you, Eric. It's kind of you. I do look like a happy birthday to you, and you look like a macaque, and you smell like one too. I would post the Bean thing to the YouTube channel, but to be honest with you, I don't think it belongs outside of the Stratosphere environment, because nobody else is going to get it. That's a Stratosphere Lounge thing. So I think I'll close with that. I think I'll run them again just to close with that. So what I think I'm going to do, kids, is get a start on get an early start on getting these right angles up. I should have gotten one up 2-3 days ago, but I'm working on the story mechanics thing, and then I will I'll probably see you guys on Tuesday night. So, yeah, I think that'll do it. I'm sorry that it's not longer, but I appreciate very much the kind words. Not just appreciate it, means really, really, really means a lot to me. Kind words about Bean and Natasha, and especially about Story Mechanics tonight, because I didn't. Tranquility Base may have missed it earlier, but how is Bean? He rallied, and I have video. We opened with it, and we'll close with it. I'll run it again. Yeah, he's a tough little bean, man. He's walking around and he's sucking up cat food like it's going out of style. So we'll see. We'll find out. Anyway, thank you for the happy birthday wishes, and Natasha says the same also. Her birthday's on the 6th, so we'll be doing something. I just don't know what yet exactly. Yeah, Tranquility Base, we got to get together and chat about the times back at Gables High. That would be something. And get out that silver yearbook we had. Was it the Cavalion? Was that what it was called? I think the science fiction Cavalion for our senior year. The chrome one. More free entertainment. You're getting your money's worth. Lady Hawk says her mom's birthday's on the 6th too. Well, that's great. Fantastic. Okay. By the way, I mentioned this before. I just found this unique. I didn't realize this until late in life. Maybe, I don't know, maybe probably a couple years before I met Natasha. So maybe 10 years ago now. But my birthday is 4/7. And as you know, the Europeans do things differently because they're Europeans. Americans did it first, even though the Europeans came first. We went back in time and did it first. But we write month and day. They write day month, and as usual, they've got a logical case, but it doesn't pass the conversational thing. What we don't say my birthday's on 4th of April. We say birthday's April 4th. So we do it the correct way, exactly, Lord Bias. But here's what's interesting. I didn't know this until very recently. If you tell a European that my birthday is on 4/7, they would say I was born on the 4th of July. And there's only one calendar date that actually works for. I'm born on the inverse of the 4th of July. I must be the Antichrist. That would explain so much. So much. Yes, year month date, Malta, I agree. It's a definitely the way to go. Anyway, yeah, so that's that. But 4th of July would be 7/4. Isn't that cool? I think that's so cool. Barking Spiders 1959 says mine is 4659. Mine's 4759. Although I generally don't pay attention to people who are older than me. You know? It's got to be tough. Barking Spiders 1959, you were born a day before me. One day. That's absolutely epic. Thanks for speaking up. My gosh. It's incredible, you know. Let me just close on that, by the way. I'm the reciprocal of the 4th of July. Thank you very much, Red 4. That's a better way of looking at it. We have been the same age at every time everything happened. When we're watching the Brady Bunch, we are the same age watching the Brady Bunch. Mama says, let me hear about the medical news. Yeah, I'll tell you about the medical news. I promise you I'll tell you about the medical news. So let me tell you what's going on with the medical news. It's not bad. It's just it's not bad. It's just heartbreaking. Aside from the fact that I have suffered from dry scalp. Okay, so I'll give you this. I'll give you this story real quick. I'll just work it backwards from the symptom. So. In November, I was sitting here at this very desk. I was working on a thumbnail for Right Angle, and I look over, and my left eye is like this little wavy field, and it's dark brown in half at the bottom of my vision in my left eye only. And I thought, that's not good. I might have seen some sparkles or something, but clearly, you know, I thought I had a detached retina. So I got up, walked over to the thermostat on the wall behind me, here. By the time I got there and then back to the chair, the vision was coming back in my left eye. I know you've all heard this before. I'm trying to it's a long and storied road here. And then it was a little out of focus, but I woke up the next day and it was more or less the same. It was as it used to be. It was fine. I probably could have ignored it. I went to an ophthalmologist the day after. He took a look at my retina. No problems with the retina. We did a dye injection, so there's no blockage and no bleeding in the eye. So the eyes are fine. Eye is just dandy. So you have to work back from the eye. So the eye bone's connected to the brain bone. So we took a look at the brain. Told my GP about this intermittent loss of vision, which is called a transient ischemic event or a transient ischemic attack, a TIE or a TIA. Lack of blood to the eye was about the only thing they figured. So then we start saying, okay, is there a blockage in the brain? So we did the brain MRI, and they found a slight abnormality, a 3 millimeter abnormality, where one of the smaller vessels of the brain on the venal side, on the return side, were slightly enlarged, not a bubble, not an aneurysm, nothing like that. They found a couple of little areas that were showed up as little fuzzy little white dots that were areas where there was some kind of abnormality. They say it looks like a leak, but it's not a leak. Again, with the very small veins, not the arteries in the brain. And then there was an area in the cerebellum where the capillaries are supposed to come together like this, but they got a little tangled up. They said, you've had all of these things since birth. If you hadn't gone and gotten the MRI looking for this transient ischemic event, you would never have known that you've got them. You've had all these things since birth. I said, okay, swell. What caused the TIE? Well, that's the problem. So, Vorpal Bunny's Revenge says, let me tell you, blinking your eyes and waking up to find yourself in neural ICU and a week has passed will get your attention. Yeah, say the least. Am I telling you I have an abnormal brain? Yeah, it's marginally abnormal. And these little, one of the neurosurgeons called them blueberries, these little tiny little, they're, as you go down through the brain, they're just these little tiny little white spots, just little itty bitty little ones. And there's probably 6 or 7 of those things, something like that. So, some kind of blood clot, but we don't know where. So when the brain shows up as clear, not causing the problem, they say, well, now we got to run it back from the brain to the heart. So if the blood flow interruption is not in the brain, then maybe it was the heart. So Bill goes to the cardiologist and wears a heart monitor for a week, and they find one section in the week during the week where instead of going bum 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 bum, it goes bum 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 bum, 4 beats out of the whole time. So the cardiologist says, well, we don't know what it is. It might be a little bit of atrial fibrillation. And if the atrium fibrillates, if it doesn't contract correctly, then it's possible that a blood clot could have formed there, and then that blood clot went downstream and caused your TIA thing. But the TIA only lasted for a few seconds. You've got no residual damage. Whatever it was, your brain just pushed it through, and and it's pretty much gone. But we don't know what caused it. It's kind of a crypto event. And the cardiologist said, so we think maybe you should wear this heart monitor. He showed me this little thing's about that big, about that long and about that thick and about that wide. Just this little thin looked like a pack of gum, but much, much smaller. And he said, yeah, I think maybe you should wear this. How long am I going to wear this for? He said, well, it's subcutaneous. Okay, I have no problem with subcutaneous. How long is it? He says, well, the batteries last about 4 years. Okay. So still can't find out what the problem is. I go to a neurosurgeon. This all happened on the same day. This was about 2 weeks ago. I go to Cedars-Sinai, Los Angeles, which is without question one of the most advanced medical facilities in the world. And the neurologist, who could not find any problem with the brain, said, I'd like you to see a neurosurgeon, get his opinion on this. Okay. So I go talk to the neurologist, and this is the part that actually was just, heartbreaking. So he's talking to me about all this stuff. And he's talking about these little tiny little spots, little itty bitty little things. He says, it's nothing to worry about. We don't see any problems with them. We'll get another MRI in a year. Just keep an eye on them. But these things happen with age, and the older you get, the more you have it. Most people at a certain age have these things. It just happens. I said, fantastic, that's great. He said, sports are okay, unless you're a boxer. If you're a boxer, your career's over. I said, not a boxer. He says, strenuous exercise is not a problem so long as you're breathing. This kind of, that stuff, don't want you doing that. And I said, okay, what about if I pull some G's? He said, what do you mean? Well, I said, well, I'm pitching a series about the military, and if I'm very, very, very lucky, which seems very slim, but possibility that I might be able to do something where I pull maybe 3-4 G's for a couple seconds. Slow onset, it's not a sudden impact, a slow onset G. So, no, you can't do that. I said, really? He said, nope. And I said, well, that kind of sucks. In fact, that really sucks quite a lot. I get out of Cedars, and I meet Natasha at our hematologist office, and it's a doctor, it's a husband-wife doctor team. We'd seen the wife several times, and she knows what she's doing. And so we went to the clinic to get hydration. We got IV bags with, little vitamin C, a B, whatever, to give you a boost. But I was chronically dehydrated, and that's not helping the blood clot situation either. I go to this guy. No flying. Eric, it's not no flying. I can fly. He just said you just can't pull G's. So I go to this guy, and he's an old Russian guy who wears the same clothes every day and probably hasn't ironed his shirt since 1978. But I'll tell you something about these Russian doctors, man, and that is these guys really know their stuff. They don't hand you off to specialists. These guys, they know their medicine. This guy walks in the room, never seen him before. He looks at me and says, what happened to your left eye? I said, what do you mean? He says, something happened to your left eye. I said, I had a transient ischemic event. He said, uh-huh. And he starts looking at my blood work. And he says, oh, yeah, I see the problem here. The problem is you've got too much blood. Too much blood. I'm dehydrated. You can't see. You can't see the veins. I have no veins here. See, and it wasn't like this. I used to have liquid. I get this guy, and he says, no, I'm looking at your lab work. Your hemoglobin is real high. You get too many red blood cells. Now we start to get to the real genius of it. You got too many red blood cells. How's that possible? He said, do you snore? And I said, yeah. He said, well, there you go. Can you fill in the difference between I get point A and I get point D? Can you give me B and C? He says, yeah, it's easy. He says, you've got sleep apnea. You are you're not getting enough oxygen when you sleep, and so your body is waking up constantly in the middle of the night, which you don't remember, and you're constantly getting signals that you're not getting enough oxygen. So your body is making more red blood cells to capture and carry as much oxygen as you can, and your blood is too thick. So start you on baby aspirin, and that should do it. But what we're really going to do is we're going to take blood out of you. Douglas says, do you take TRT? That increases red blood cells too. I did actually start taking TRT not too long ago. I said, okay. So they took out 250 milliliters, I want to say, and they put in 750 milliliters of plasma, fluid. And so I went last week as well, had some blood taken out, fluids put in. But this actually makes sense. Time for sleep studies appointment. Yes, I've got I'm scheduling a sleep lab test. By the way, you'll appreciate this. I went for a sleep test in 2011. Or wait a minute, earlier than that. 2009. Hooray. So, this finally is a theory that makes sense. The theory is that the apnea is causing me to produce too many blood cells. The blood cells are, one more thing. When they tried to put the fluids in me, they couldn't get a vein here. They couldn't get a vein on the top of my wrist. She tried, and she was a really excellent phlebotomist too, and she tried, and she said your blood is like jelly. Jelly? That's not good. I don't like jelly. By the way, before I took the sleep test, I'd been using a CPAP machine because I was having a hard time sleeping, and I didn't particularly care for it. I guess they've gotten better in the 15 years since I tried one, but there's a bunch of things here. So anyway, she said your blood is just clotting, like real fast. The second it touches oxygen, it's like, it's really kind of remarkable. So all of this stuff actually makes sense. I don't drink enough water. I'm perpetually dehydrated. I snore, and that is, and I have woken up several times, that kind of thing. So, here's what I've decided. I after I talked to the neurosurgeon, I went and talked to the neurologist again, and I said, I told him about everything, and so I talked to the neurologist again. He was the guy who first saw these little white spots, said didn't think there was anything to worry about. And I told him what the neurosurgeon said about the G's. Turned out the neurologist was a pilot and real active, really into flying and stuff. I said, listen, if somebody offered me in the ride in the back seat of the Blue Angels or the Thunderbirds, I would turn them down. It would hurt. I would turn them down based on what the neurosurgeon said, because that is sustained 6-7 Gs for a good long time, 4, 5, 6 minutes. But if you're talking about a 3G break over a carrier, or 2 Gs off the catapult, or 2 Gs on the arresting hook, I'm going to risk it, because 2 Gs is, you just bang your head against the side of the wall, which I do frequently. That's got to be 20 Gs. So I'm going to make continue to make the changes. Losing weight, that'll help. Losing weight will help with the lose 10 or 20 pounds. That'll help with the snoring. I'm gonna Tesla is 2 Gs. Yes, exactly. That was easily 2 Gs. And I was talking with Shelley about this, and I just said, I just don't want to go out on a cracker, That's just came into my head. I don't want to go out on a cracker. I don't want to be wheeled around in a bed. It's not a sharp pull. And by the way, if this TIE thing hadn't happened, it's got nothing to do with the TIE. Those things were in my brain the whole time. I would have no way of knowing. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm gonna be very careful. I'm gonna take it nice and easy. Do I have an overbite? I don't know. I guess I do. Maybe a little bit. Invisalign can help. Yeah. They've also got something, a new thing called, and a mouth guard. I've heard that too. They've got a procedure now called, I think it's called Inspire, and they subcutaneously, it's hilarious. They subcutaneously implant something that like sits here, or so, anyway, it's brand new, and basically what it does is, it detects your oxygen levels, and if your oxygen levels are falling, it sends like a little tickle of electricity to pull your tongue back into place. And so, yeah. I'm just gonna be really careful. I got the colonies to do. I got people depending on me. I'm not in any hurry to go anywhere. I'm not gonna do anything stupid. But I'm not gonna live like I'm not gonna be the boy in the bubble either. I'm just not gonna do that. I'm a tough hombre. And one thing I do need to do is drink more water. And I have a hard time doing that. I need to drink more water all the time. Mama says Inspire is cutting edge, and I have a relative doing it. Is it working for her, Mama? Because frankly, I've tried the mask, and I would probably not help. I just didn't like it. Red 4 says losing weight will help a lot with obstructive sleep apnea. It won't help if you have central sleep apnea. Central sleep apnea is where your brain stops sending signals for you to breathe while asleep. By the way, I showed you the picture, right? I showed you the picture of the sleep study. They found no apnea. So, I don't know. Yeah, I'm going to be the $6 million man, says Jack O'Halloran. I have some more implants. And yeah, Bill and Bean are immortal. That's the way I like to think about it. So, look, Natasha's worried, and I don't want her to worry. I'm strong as an ox. I've never had a health problem. This would be the first time I would ever have to modify my behavior for my health. Not my habits or my eating habits. But, well, you can't do that. If you were in a boat, right? If you're just in a boat out on a bay, then and you're doing this, you're taking a couple G's. So they're little tiny little blueberries, and my brain is like a blueberry muffin. And but when the guy said no, you can't do the 3G pull over the carrier, I said, well, that chance of that happening was about zero anyway. They never take anybody on board that's not coming on board the cod. Thank you, Bob. Bob says, you got this, Bill. So anyway, that's a story. I was really heartbroken about it, but I've had some time to think about it. The sleep study will tell me what I need, and they're backed up for like months. But there's a chance, says Roadrunner. That's right. There's a chance. Maybe they'll have a F-18F that's got, I don't know, some kind of maintenance problem, and it needs just a little bit, needs another 180 pounds of ballast in the back seat. Otherwise, it won't be safe to fly. So anyway, that's the story on the health thing. So nothing dangerous, not anything to worry about really. Although the apnea thing is a problem, gets to be more of a problem as you get older. I did put on, honestly, I put on 15 pounds since I was doing the firewalls, because I can't fit into that jacket anymore, so I'm losing that. I'm getting back down to 185. And yeah, sparkling water is the bomb, Kobo. It's much easier to drink. Bean is good. We started off the show with Bean. We're going to end with Bean. I'm going to run it again. But yeah, Red Force is not a big fan of the CPAP, but it's a hell of a lot better than a stroke. I have an auto PAP, so I don't have to keep getting it adjusted to my lifestyle habits. Is that a PAP? And donate blood. Yes, I can donate blood, and I can donate vaccine-free blood, because the peanut butter and acai shakes, that's what did it, Dave Big Booty. It's not only what put on the weight, it's just that the peanut butter went directly into the bloodstream and hasn't come out yet. I'm running on peanut butter. My heart is pumping peanut butter and acai juice. Man, I love those things. It's been almost a year. I want one so much. Haven't had one since I got back from Oshkosh. So not fair. All right. Anyway, that's it. So everybody's just been wonderful tonight. As usual, you're always wonderful people, but it's been especially kind this evening. Spindrift water is great, says Mike Churchill. My house in Bermuda was called Spindrift. I think that's a beautiful name. And so I think that'll do it. I will run the beam footage again. Yes, I'll put him on the TSL thumbnail. Sure, why not? Anyway, this show is made possible by the members at BillWhittle.com who kept the lights on and who keep everything going. Eric Blake says peanut butter turns my blood to jelly. Perfect. I have a peanut butter and blood sandwich is basically what I'm running on here. I don't know how long it'll last. It may the rally may end tomorrow, but he's a tough little dude. And we're very grateful to the people who are BillWhittle.com members, and we got a lot to do still before we get those numbers up. So that's the next plan. That's critical. Has to happen. So start rounding up people and if you have to lock them in the crawl space for a while until they sign up, well, I'm not above, not beneath me. All right, but thank you, and thank you for all the kind birthday wishes and the bean wishes and all the rest of it. I am going to take YouTube and I'm going to switch YouTube over to BeanaVision. And thank you for joining us, YouTube, and we'll see you guys probably Tuesday night right here at your very own Stratosphere studio. Here comes my cat.